Hey my friend, welcome to another Roots of Peace yoga practice. I'm Chelsea. Luna's snacking. She's got her actor's fee and she will be leaving very, very shortly. Today's video, Choose Your Hard, is all about just that. It's about all the choices that we have, and none of them are technically really easy, because when you boil it down, the aftermath of whatever we choose affects us down the line, long-term, short-term. There are always, almost always, consequences to our actions, right? So, and this theme was based on a post, social media post that came out, I don't know, she's out. This social media post came out, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, and I found it very interesting, and that was the title, Choose Your Hard, and I kind of go through it in the video, but it talks about how being in a relationship is hard, being lonely is hard, choose your hard. Being in stagnation is hard. Making your body and your mind a priority is also hard. Choose your hard. So it goes back and forth. I couldn't find the post today. It's much more eloquent than I currently just was, for the record. But, so today's video, we kind of break these things down. We go through some harder yoga poses. I shouldn't say harder, like it's just a little more challenging. But, so you will need your mat and a block. And then that's really about it. And then just be ready. I ramble quite a bit, but I think it's helpful for sure. So yeah, grab your mat, grab your block, get your comfies on, and get ready for Choose Your Hard. Hey there, yogi. Today we're gonna start in mountain pose. Today's practice is gonna be a little bit more active with the theme, Choose Your Hard. So, you can land on your mat, ground down through those sweet feet you have, open your palms forward, and take a minute to inhale, your shoulders coming up just a little bit, and as you exhale, let them relax and soften. And land in a neutral position. I was watching a video recently and they were talking about cues that yoga teachers maybe shouldn't use anymore because it goes against the natural outline of the body and how it falls during positions. And one of them was to push your shoulder blades down your back. So, and I've said that before. So as you exhale, just letting your shoulders soften, and maybe they do scoot down a little bit, like shoulder blades included, but maybe they just kind of land in their natural, neutral position, which is what you want, especially in mountain pose, because it's fairly passive. So once you settle in with your shoulders and your feet, close your eyes down and take a moment to really be in your body, which is hard for some of us. So I'm going to be saying that word a lot throughout this practice. So as you tune into your breath, having your eyes closed, know that this may be hard for you. It's hard for me to sit or stand still. It's just not in my wiring. But it's also hard to be running around all day and being frantic. So again, choose your hard. And sometimes what's best for us is hard. It's not easy. It's something that's difficult. So take a moment with your breath, land in your mountain pose, and notice if this is difficult for you. It might not be. Maybe you're like, oh God, some stillness. This is amazing and I need it and I want it. But for some of us, it's like, I'm shaking, this is freaking me out. So let's settle into the stillness. I'm going to do it with you because I need it for 3 breaths. Keep your eyes closed and just take a moment to notice your alignment, notice your body. Notice your knees, toes are forward, light bend in the knees. Check in with your hips, slight lift in your heart space to really bring that confident, powerful stance that you have, which can also be tricky for some of us to walk around and be seen. It's not easy to be seen. I do it all the time. It can be hella terrifying. But it can also be really tricky to walk around hunched and making yourself small and wanting to disappear into the background. It's not an easy place to come from either. So again, choose your hard. You can allow your eyes to open. Maybe let's wiggle fingers and toes. And then you're gonna inhale to come up to extended mountain. Exhale, drop to your forward fold. We're gonna warm up the body a little bit. First and foremost, before we get a little extreme, halfway lift on the in-breath. Out breath, you will plant it on down to fold. Inhale, reach to extended mountain. And exhale to drop the hands back down to the sides. You're gonna inhale to reach the left arm up and over, stretching that left side body. Deep breaths. So coming back to that post I was talking about in the intro, we have all of these different choices we can make. And it's not always this or that, but that's kind of the way the message was, and that's kind of a good way to communicate sometimes, I suppose. But so it's hard to stay in shape. Like those of you that are religious with your routines, you can inhale to reach up, exhale to drop, and we'll take to the other side. Inhale, reaching the right arm up and over to the left, expanding through the right ribs this time. It can be hard to stay in that fitness routine and to really prioritize your physical well-being. But on the flip side of that, it can also be wicked difficult to be unhealthy and be stagnant and a couch potato because you don't feel good and your body tells you this. And so then you begin to disassociate from the neck down, and then you just like don't really want to feel your body, which is also a tricky position to be in. So you have to pick which one do you have the energy for and which one do you want to like make a goal. And hopefully couch potato isn't your goal. Exhale to drop that arm back down. Inhale to reach extended mountain. Exhale down to fold. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Up for extended. And as you exhale, we're going to sit back for chair. So warming up the legs a little bit and sinking the tail back behind you. Those of you that have been doing yoga for a little bit, or maybe you just started, it's not easy, it's challenging, and it's hard to make time for yourself with this chaotic world we live in. So again, you're picking, do I skip it and do I Netflix? Because maybe that would be easier, but at the same time, like your body might suffer from that. Or does your mind really need a break? These are all things that like are good to know about yourself. Inhale to come up extended. Exhale to drop down, forward fold. Halfway lift. Forward fold. You're gonna hop or step into high plank. And we're gonna hold high plank for 2 breaths. So again, this isn't easy, but it's good to strengthen our core, and it's something that we need. We want a good front and back core that is nice and strong. Deep breath in as you exhale. You're gonna drop all the way down to the belly. And we're gonna move to some cobra swims. So you're gonna inhale to come up, exhale to drop down. Keep flowing with the breath. And as I said in mountain pose, for some of us it's really hard to be still, but that's what we need. That's how I roll. It's hard for me to rest and relax, and so it's something I prioritize, but it's not something I necessarily like or want to do all the time. But I know that I need it, and I know that it's good for me. So I try my best to do it. One more. And exhale to drop back down. You're gonna move to your child's pose and sink in here for a few breaths. I'm gonna pop up. And we're gonna throw some Ayurveda into this because it's been a while. So for me, it's hard for me to sit still because I'm very Vata. That's that wind energy. We're very frantic and like light, and we frolic about all the time. But on the flip side of that, maybe it's more difficult for you to be active and to get that energy to come out so that you can accomplish what you need to accomplish during the day. I know people that are very Kapha, so that's that kind of like earth energy. They're very grounded. They don't get anxiety a ton. They're not up in their head a lot because they are grounded. But when Kapha gets out of balance, you can be too grounded. So then it gets harder and harder to get into those routines of being active, of coming out of stagnation. So to each their own, it's different. So as I go through this video today, like keep in mind what works best for you and what you need. Not what I need, not what your friend needs, but what you personally need, because everybody's different, every body is different. And so what's good for one might be poison for another, especially when we get into to your constitutions, that Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And with Pittas, so that's that like fire energy. Keep hanging out in your child's pose, by the way. I haven't forgotten you're there. Pittas have that like kind of hot energy. So they get tempers quickly sometimes, and they have a hard time shutting off their brain space. So Pittas, it can be hard for them to meditate because it's hard for them to empty out. But that's what they need to balance things out. So if you're not 100% sure on like kind of what type of energy you vibe with the most, figure that out. It's so helpful. Like, this is what I've spent the last 4 years doing, and it is immensely helpful to really know who you are, what your habits are, and what you need to keep things in balance for yourself. One more breath in your child's pose, and then you're gonna pop up to tabletop. We're gonna kick it in some cat-cows just to get the spine going. Inhale, belly goes down, gaze comes forward, cow. Exhale, round, or lift the spine, I'm gonna say. Lift the spine, press the ground away, shoulders come forward for your cat. Inhale, back we go to cow. Exhale to come back to cat. We're gonna do these a few more times before we kind of amp things up a little bit. And today's video is a little bit more active, but it's about knowing your limitations as well and knowing what you need. Maybe today you don't need a really active practice, so maybe this video isn't for you. Maybe you need to pick one of the grounding videos or the meditation video. But if you've got that Kapha energy going on, maybe this is what you need. But if you can come back to tabletop and you're gonna tuck your toes and hang out in floating table. But maybe you have an injury and so you need to modify today, which is what I have a wrist thing going on. So I'm gonna be very careful about like where I go and what I do. We're gonna take 2 more breaths here, engage your core. You can rest your knees down if you need to, or you can step straight back to high plank and then take your down dog. Resting here, holding 2 breaths. Inhale to take the right leg high. Exhale, you're gonna fold it in front of you for pigeon. Again, we're kind of like stretching in the legs. We're gonna get intensity going, especially with our legs, with some transitions here in just a little bit. So in pigeon pose, we're opening through the hips. And this pose, and specifically reclining pigeon, which we'll hit in just a second, can allow the body to release emotions. And so again, we're back to that choosing your difficulty. It's hard to feel our emotions. I'm dealing with some hiccups right now, and one of them I can't quite talk about yet. But I've been avoiding it, and it's something that like I kind of have to take time to sit with and process. And it's extremely difficult, but it's also really hard to ignore it. So again, like choose your heart and what's best for you in that moment in time, because that's gonna change. Like things are ever changing and evolving and flowing, just like water in the river. You can drop down to your reclining. Forehead coming on the mat. Maybe if you're not getting there today, you can grab your block and rest your forehead on your block, or you can stack your fists on your hands, or stack your fists and then rest your head on your hands. So in your pigeon pose, maybe you start to feel things bubble up, and maybe this is a pose that is hard for you because of the emotional impact that it has on your body. Dealing with our emotions and working through them isn't easy, my God. It's horrifying sometimes. But when you get on the other side, you're kind of raw, but it's better long term because you've processed and you've worked through, and maybe you've come to some conclusions about things. You can come back up to your pigeon pose. But it's also, like I said, it's hard to to ignore those and sit, because then they start to cause issues in the tissues. And you kind of know you're ignoring it, but you're like, I just don't want to face this. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's not the right time to face things. So again, you're picking like what's best for you in this moment in time. Tuck the left toes. You're going to step to high plank. Head back to your down dog. And maybe pedal the heels out if you need some extra movement. We're constantly faced with choices though, and it's rare that they're all easy. So just remembering that you have all the tools you need to deal with what comes at you, no matter what it is or how hard it's going to be. Inhale to take the left leg high. Exhale, fold in front of you, back to pigeon you go, opening on the left side and being with those emotions if they arise. But yes, it's difficult to make the choices, but we're constantly making choices, and sometimes they are easy, like, oh, what flavor ice cream I want, or whatever. What am I going to buy at the grocery store? But it's a dance, it's a balance, and so keeping that in mind, if you're feeling a little off, like where do I need to go today? Do I need to move my body, or do I need to rest? Things like that. Do I need to have a cheat day and eat a bacon cheeseburger, which is what I'm doing tonight? So excited. Or do I need to eat a salad because I haven't had enough vegetables today? All these things, and they're never necessarily easy choices. I mean, sometimes, but you can drop down to your reclining pigeon, sinking in deeper on that left side, and seeing if you can be completely present with your breath and your body. And staying down in your reclining pigeon for 3 more breaths. Carefully come back upright, tuck the right toes, step to high plank, and settle back to your down dog. Check in with your shoulders, notice the position, and if you're hunching, maybe you just relax them a little bit. Inhale to step or hop feet to hands, forward fold, breathe in, halfway lift. Breathe out to fold, rise to extended mountain. And bring your hands to heart center. We're gonna take chair pose with the block, if that's what you're feeling today. So a little bit more weight for the arms, and then a little bit more squish with the legs, just for a little bit more alignment. But maybe you had a wicked arm workout yesterday and like your arms are like, we're spaghetti, please don't do this. So pick, it's your practice, pick the modification, pick the pose that best suits you and the level of intensity. So bringing the block in between the hands, first you're gonna sink the tail back and hold, making sure that the shoulders aren't pushed up towards the ears, but that they're fairly neutral. We're gonna hold this, you're gonna hold this for 2 breaths. I'm gonna set this down because I played softball last night and my arms are spaghetti. 1 more breath here. You inhale to reach, extend it. Exhale, down you go to fold. Halfway lift. Forward fold, back up to extended. Bring the hands to heart and we'll grab that block again if you choose. This time it's gonna come in between the legs, which I particularly enjoy because it really like lines everything up, zips up that posture, and it's a little bit of a variation, and sometimes it's good to do things in a way that we don't normally do them, which can also be a little bit tricky. So sit back now for your chair pose, block in between the legs. Maybe it's not, that's okay. And so when we keep thinking about these choices, one of the things that comes up a lot in my life is my husband. So 1 more breath here, and then you can come up, release the block if you need to. My husband prefers to spend time by himself. That's just the way he is. And some people are more social, but again, choose your heart. Sometimes it's hard for someone like me to not have connection, but for my husband, it's wicked easy. So again, like, to each their own, but when it comes to relationships, I should probably get you in a pose before I keep going. Let's reach up, inhale, and then exhale. You're gonna lean to the right, look to the left. There we go. But in terms of relationships, this was another thing that was in that post is it's hard to be married. It's hard to get divorced. It's hard to have a significant other if you're just dating or whatever, but it's also hard sometimes to be on your own. So knowing what type of person you are and what relationships work best for you is also a good thing to know, but they're not always going to be smooth sailing. Inhale to reach up, exhale, leaning to the left, looking to the right. So it's another one of those, choose your hard. There are a lot of people that end up getting divorced because the relationship just didn't work, and that's really tricky, but I'm sure in some of those relationships they tried their best, which was also difficult. So unless you're like absolutely copping out, like you're picking a hard, so pick the one that's gonna suit you best long term. Inhale to come up, exhale, drop down, forward fold, halfway lift, forward fold, and let's hang out in ragdoll. Grabbing the elbows, you can sway side to side. And as someone who's been married for almost 13 years, I think it is, marriage is really hard. It's tricky, it's compromise, it's little naggy fights and annoyances, but it's worth it. For me, it is so worth it. But there are no free lunches, and so you have to put in the work to get to the good spot. Drop down to your forward fold, inhale, halfway lift, move back down to fold, reach to extended, drop, fold, half lift, take your fold, and you can hop or step to high plank, and settle back to your down dog. So we're gonna get pretty active with our legs now. Inhale to take the right leg high, exhale, you're gonna step in between the hands to take that high lunge. So keep your back leg strong and floating. Again, if you need to sink the left knee at any time, I said again per old videos. I haven't said it in this one yet. Once everything is rooted down, inhale to take the arms high. Woo! Wobbly softball legs for your high lunge. Holding here for 2. And as you inhale, step forward to your chair pose and land. Lots of chairs today, picking the hard, but maybe you sit some out. That's totally okay. Carefully step back, high lunge. We're gonna do one more transition with this high lunge, and option to sit this one out. We're gonna move into warrior 3. So checking with your balance, and as you inhale, pick up that left leg. If I can do it, there we go. And move to your warrior 3, holding for 2 breaths. And now dropping the hands, lift the left leg, standing half split. 2 breaths. Exhale, drop the left leg, forward fold. Halfway lift. Down to fold. Reach, extended mountain. Melt down to fold. Halfway lift. Back down to fold. You can separate hop to high plank. Deep breath in, and as you exhale, chaturanga down to the belly. Inhale for a cobra. Exhale, down you go. And shoot to your child's pose. And you're gonna stay in your child's pose for some time. So getting back to those hard decisions, one or the other, and like I said, it's not always black and white like that, but it's kind of a good way to gauge these comparisons and these choices that come at us all the time. Is it hard to own 3 businesses? How much time do you have? Yes it is. But it was also really difficult to work for somebody else. So for me personally, the path that I've chosen with my Roots of Peace yoga, my swim lessons, and then my Pine Girl Arts, graphic design, photography, social media business, that's a whole nother beast. This works better for me because I have so much extra energy and I do like to have so many irons in the fire. I've always been that way. But for somebody that prefers to have like structure and work with or for somebody else, this probably isn't a good path for you. I had this said to me when I left Deadwood History Inc. 3 years ago, two and a half years ago, whatever. They said like, there's no way I could work for myself because I can't stay focused and like plan that much. And absolutely. But for me, I like this. It's effing difficult. It's so difficult. But it's worth it for me. I have extra time with my family at home, and so it really works. But it's also really tricky to get my own clients and do all the things, to be my accountant, to be my own designer and marketer and outreach, whatever. So choose your heart. There it is again. One more breath in your child's pose. So maybe if you're in between jobs or you're thinking about jumping ship, like, it's really hard to work for somebody that's difficult. It's also really hard to be in a job where you don't really like what you're doing, but you need the money. So make your choices. You can rise to your down dog. That's where we're going. There's an episode in The Office where Michael Scott, it's a Christmas episode, and Toby's telling him he can't push religion in the office. He dressed up as Jesus. Those of you that know The Office know what I'm talking about. But Michael Scott goes, "Oh, but I can push drugs in here. Is that what you're saying? Well, you have to pick one or the other. Pick your poison and get back to me." But that's kind of what our choices are sometimes. It's like which one we have to pick, and they're not always going to be easy, as I've said multiple times. All right, inhale, back to yoga we go. To take the left leg high, exhale, step in between the hands, coming back to that high lunge. So set that foundation. Inhale, reach it up for your high lunge. Holding here, check your posture, notice the body. For whatever reason, this side isn't nearly as intense as the other side for me. And now you're gonna step to the chair pose. Again, maybe you need a break. Maybe your body's like, not today. And now we can step back to that high lunge. Holding here. And then, if you wish, don't have to, making that transition. And maybe you're one of those people that it's hard to challenge yourself, and so you kind of need to do a little bit more of that. But maybe on the flip side of that, you're one of those people that's wicked hard on yourself, so you need to like back off a little bit. Again, knowing everything you can about this spaceship that you're piloting is very helpful. All right, inhale, warrior three, woo, coming at you. Oh my God, so much more wobbly on this side. Hang in there with me, toes dialed down. Maybe I'll grab one of these plants. Probably not, there's a cactus. Holding here, one more breath. And now release those hands, drop them down for your standing half split. Taking that right leg high to the sky best you can. Exhale, down you go, forward fold. Oh, that's better. Halfway lift. And drop to fold. Reach to extended mountain. And bring the hands to heart center. You're gonna grab your block. We're gonna take half moon. And maybe you don't need your block if your hand goes all the way down. I'm gonna put mine, you can do low, medium, high with the block. So pick the length you need today. Lead with the right foot, toes pointed to the front of the mat towards the block. Arms come out. Deep breath in. As you exhale, release that right hand down to the block. Try to keep your toes pointed forward, and then left hand extends into the sky. Left leg is in the air behind you. Staying here. If you want to go even further, you can take sugar canes pose. Let's see if I can get there. By grabbing your left foot with your left hand. There we go. And maybe you can catch your toes. One more breath. Come back to your half moon and exhale to come back up. Shake things out. And then we will do all that fun stuff on the other side. And so I was talking about diet before a little bit, but it's it's hard to eat healthy. It can, especially like depending on where you live, if you're not close to like a good grocery store, it's so tricky. But I would rather eat good things and be energized and feel okay, especially because I have a tricky tummy anyway, than eat like garbage and feel like garbage. I learned that the hard way over the past, I don't know, I've been on my health quest since I was like 19, but let's take our half moon on the left. So left toes towards the block, top of the mat, deep breath in, exhale to drop that left hand down, reach the right arm to the sky, right leg back behind you, and kicking it in your half moon. But yes, it's hard. It can be hard to switch habits, especially with eating. And so I am a sugar addict, I'll admit that. And so it's hard for me to back off of sugar. You take your sugar cane pose, speaking of, that's really a funny coincidence. Catching your right foot with your right hand. Oh, and I fell out. One more breath. See if you can hold it. Maybe you're still in your half moon. Come back to your half moon. And exhale to release back down. But it can be hard to switch your habits. It can also be hard to continuously put things in your body that you are cognizant of that aren't good for you. So again, pick your poison, get back to me. You can get your block. And let's inhale up for our extended. Exhale down to fold. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Upper hop to high plank. Chaturanga down to the belly. Inhale up for a cobra, big or small. Exhale to release. And float to child's pose. Two breaths here, two more. As you inhale, you can make your way up to tabletop. We're gonna end in a seated position today with a little bit of a guided meditation. And so coming back to just the lifestyle choices in general, that's really what this kind of boils down to. Some of you might be thinking, well, it's easy to sit on the couch and eat Cheetos and ice cream. Yeah, it can be sometimes, but when you really tap into how you feel, it's not easy to feel lethargic and sluggish. And when we bring our headspace into this, it's not easy to sit with the guilt that we may or may not have with these choices that we're making. It's not easy to have depression and or anxiety, but some people live with it for a really, really long time before they make that decision to go to therapy or to go see a doctor or to start yoga or meditation or whatever it is that they need to get out of that downward spiral. Because it's hard to get better. It's effing hard to heal. So if you're in this position and maybe you're trying to figure out which hard you want to battle with, be gentle with yourself. Go easy and just keep in mind that your heart and that gut instinct will keep talking to you and tell you what's best for yourself. You just have to be ready to listen, which is also tricky. All right, come into your seated position. Maybe you're in crisscross applesauce. Maybe you're gonna do butterfly legs. Whatever is best for your body. Take a moment to rotate your thigh meat outward so that you're really rooted down in your sit bones, and then you can have your palms open to the sky, resting on your knees. Close your eyes down and sit with those deep belly breaths. As you continue to be down in your body, which is very tricky for some of us, I fully acknowledge this. I want you to bring to mind your favorite place in nature. Maybe it's by a stream with some lovely little forget-me-not flowers. This is a personal one for me. Maybe it's on top of a mountain or your favorite hiking trail at the end when you get up to that summit, that view. Maybe it's a camping spot. Maybe it's your backyard. Maybe it's a beach or a meadow, full of flowers, but really hone in to that natural space that's outside and visualize it in as many details as you possibly can. Keep coming back to your breath to keep you in check. And really paint a full picture of this lovely utopia that you have. Noticing how your heart space feels. Checking in with the body. Noticing if any parts need to soften subconsciously. And take 2 more breaths with this beautiful image that you've made for yourself. And now with your mind, take your awareness down to your sit bones. Feel that connection to the mat. Working as best you can to stay fully present, which is also not easy. Again, it's a choice. Do I stay present or do I let my thoughts ramble on? Both are tricky. But what do you need? Most of us don't need rambling thoughts. That's overthinking. And it, again, personal experience, it's usually not helpful. Sometimes it is, usually not. So can you come into the present? Can you come into the breath, listening to my voice, being here on the mat with this practice? Notice your feet, the parts that are touching your mat. Now we're really going to shift and bring your awareness up to the very top of your head, your crown chakra. Lift it slightly up towards the ceiling, lengthening through the spine. And imagining a bright white ball of light sprouting brilliantly out of the top of your crown, connecting you to God, universe, spirit, however you want to frame it, and shining ever so brilliantly that it cleanses everything down below your crown. This light just sparkles and shimmers and purifies your body and your soul. Imagining that light traveling all the way down through the body, lighting you up, giving you love. Sit with this vision for 3 more breaths. With eyes still closed, hands come to your heart. My friend, thank you for being here, for listening to my ramblings, and showing up for yourself. I greatly appreciate you with all the love and so much light. Namaste.